Welcome to the Word for 2021. Today we're in Genesis chapter 44. In this chapter, we see real change on display. In chapter 37, Judah, along with his brothers, hated Joseph and they wanted to kill Joseph. It was Judah's idea to sell Joseph into slavery. Later, all the brothers got together and they lied to their father, and they said that Joseph had been attacked and killed by a wild animal. Judah joined in this lie that they told to their father, and even when Jacob refused to be comforted, it didn't change Judah's heart. In chapter 38, Judah left home rather than deal with the deception, the lies, and the guilt of his sin. In chapter 38, we see Judah's character played out as we see what took place with Tamar. Then, in verse 26, Judah admits his wrong, which is always the first step towards healing and forgiveness. Judah goes back to his father. Later, when they need to go down to Egypt, Judah talks to his father. This is the second trip down to Egypt. And in chapter 43, Judah guarantees the younger son Benjamin's safety. He even says that he will take full responsibility. And if anything happens to Benjamin, Judah tells his father that I will take the blame for the rest of my life. Something has changed in Judah. In chapter 44, as Judah is speaking with Joseph, he's concerned about his father's life. He even offers himself up to be a slave to Joseph so that then Benjamin might be released. God has done a work in Judah's heart. In fact, Judah has changed from being self-centered to self-sacrificing. And it all started when he confessed his wrong. Now this is totally different than what took place with Captain Cesar Garces. Captain Garces was the pilot of Flight 254 out of Brazil's Marbella Airport on September 3, 1989. Captain Cesar Garces consulted the computer-generated flight plan, which read 0270, which corresponded to the magnetic heading from Marbella to Belém. Well, Garces inadvertently, though, dialed 270 into the horizontal situation indicator there on the airplane's computer. When Flight 254 took off, it immediately climbed to a height and altitude of 29,000 feet. Then, the computer on board turned the plane to a heading northwest instead of northeast toward the coastline. Now it was heading straight towards the Amazon rainforest. After 48 minutes in flight, Captain Garces realized that something was wrong. And so he didn't see the city, he didn't see the airport. And so he turned the airplane 180 degrees around, still not going in the right direction. He turned the plane around and then he told a lie to the attendants. He said that the airport had had a power failure, and so he was going to simply circle the plane until the power came back on. Captain Garces, however, didn't know where he was, and he refused to radio for help. Later, the plane ran out of fuel and it crash landed there in the Amazon rainforest, 700 miles from their intended destination. All 6 crew members survived, but 13 of 48 passengers died, all because Captain Garces refused to admit his mistake and accept correction. So many people crash land their life because of pride. They refuse to admit that they're wrong. Humility is the exact opposite of pride, and God calls us to be humble. In fact, humility and confession is always the first step towards healing and forgiveness. In 1 John 1:9 we read, "If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us of our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness." Real change always starts with confession. God changed Judah's heart because he confessed. And God can change anyone if we will simply humble ourselves and confess our wrong before God. God then can do a miracle in anyone's heart. Thank you for joining the Word for 2021.